can go crazy. You can go mental. Hope you're doing well. It's 8 o'clock here on Tuesday. And I'll tell you a bit of a story. I watched a podcast once by Dana White, and they asked Dana, if you don't know who Dana White is, he's the president and founder of the UFC. They asked him, like, what's it like being an entrepreneur? How do you deal with it? And he said, listen, like, we've been around, I forget how old the UFC is. Maybe it's called like 20 years. We've been around for 20 years. And there isn't a day he doesn't wake up and there isn't a problem. It's true. It's just how you deal with the problem. I've been an entrepreneur since 2010, and I can barely recall a day where that day is 100% smooth sailing. There's always an issue internally with a teammate or a customer or a vendor or market conditions. And so the reason I'm making this is, as an example, my business, Get Leverage, is going through a black swan. The internet IT outage started on the same time there was a student protest. And so we offer customer support, marketing support, sales support. And what happens? The government pulled the internet. And so for the last 5 days, all of our delivery operations have been in the dark. So the reason I'm making this is the reality is you can't control the macros. I often think about this. Imagine you owned a clothing retailer and it's March of 2020. Boom. And you live in Ottawa, Canada. I want you to think about this one. It's March of 2020. You're selling suits like hotcakes. And then COVID hits. And for the next 2 years, nobody can come into your shop. Nobody's buying their suits online because we're all wearing yoga pants, Lululemons. And then they open up. And as soon as they open up their retail operations, the trucker standstill, if you remember this from a few years, the trucker standstill is parked out front of your shop for the next month or two. You can't control the macros. You can't control the black swan events. What you can control, and this is kind of a story now to tell your sales professionals. If you're a founder watching this, this is a really important thing that you could teach your sales professionals. Bad things are going to happen every day. You are going to lose deals. Those are prospective deals or those are customers. It is an inevitability. The only two things that you can control are the decisions you make and the actions you take. Now, here is the decisions that I believe in. I am a huge believer of overt, radically transparent communication. Internally, my company, everyone knows what's in the bank account, how many customers we won this week. Did we lose any customers? How are we doing cash flow wise? We are 100% transparent from everybody from a virtual assistant all the way to those that run delivery operations. The whole company is rowing the boat the same pace. And I believe that your customers and prospects, you want to be doing the same thing. If things are working out in their world and your world, let them know. If things aren't working out, service is interrupted, product is going to be delayed, you can't actually deliver on a particular promise on time, on budget, you don't have a certain feature, radical transparency. I can't tell you how many times in the last 12 plus years I've won a deal because I've turned down a prospect and said, well, we don't offer that. Here's who's better. Let me introduce you. Here's what they do. Here's what we do. Trying my best to not oversell. Listen, I'm a sales guy. It's happened. But trying to really be radically transparent and overt communication. And ironically, those people came back 6 months, 12 months, a couple years later for a different project, maybe at a different company, all because of radical transparency. So the reason I wanted to make this video is, listen, I'm going through this all week. Since Thursday morning, there has been zero internet in Bangladesh. And so what has that happened? I've now been hit with a black swan event. The good thing as a seniored entrepreneur and founder, this isn't the first black swan I've had to deal with. All of us, if you've been an entrepreneur since COVID, and I used to say to people, well, during COVID, I'm so glad that I run a digital business, because if I ran a restaurant, a clothing apparel shop, a gymnasium, whatever that required, my wife's business in experiential marketing got decimated because there were no more live events. But guess what? Turns out you can turn the plug on the internet pretty quickly. And that is a black swan that I'll have to deal with, like everybody else had to deal with COVID. And you learn that if you pause, the decisions you make is the first thing you can control. Do you freak out? Do you dwell on things you can't control? No. What you do is you make an action plan for, okay, how do I first communicate the situation, the challenge, the potential resolutions? How do I jump in to help? How do I pause things that I was working on in the future to serve the present? These are all decisions and actions that you can make. And as a sales professional, if you back up, pause, and use the same sort of framework, I really do think it will help you in sales. So, hope you're doing well.